Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aloysius Cheang. I'm the Chief Security Officer for Huawei Middle East and Central Asia. So I'm glad to be here. This is my first time speaking in COMEX, so I'll be happy to stay after my speech that we could have some interaction going on if you have some questions, curious about my presentation. So, over the last 3 years, besides the pandemic that was ravaging the entire world, we also saw a lot of changes that will define the future of the digital economy. The pandemic accelerated the need for us to do a digital transformation that will support businesses as we work from home, study from home, but it also saw the coming of a few topics that are close to our heart. The Metaverse came, okay, and bombed spectacularly, right? Facebook famously changed their group holding company to Meta, and Mark Zuckerberg proudly announced that the Metaverse is the future. But in recent months, we saw that Facebook has now forsaken the Metaverse and focused on another mega trend that we should be quite familiar with by now. AI, artificial intelligence. We saw that there's a lot of take-up and interest in the usage of AI-enabled application like ChatGPT. A lot of people are using ChatGPT, okay, towards objectives like writing their papers, the proposals, to submitting the homework for our school children, and that they are omnipresent and they know everything, omnipotent. But are these trends, whether brought about by the Metaverse or brought about by AI, what are the potential challenges behind the outer layer of promises that it brings to us? Without a shadow of a doubt, the deep technologies that we are seeing today that are proliferating in the real world, such as AI, the Metaverse, supported by technologies, deep technologies like blockchain, 5G, 5.5G, the cloud, IoT, all these are coming together that are strong indicators that we are entering into a new era. A new era where technology will bridge the gap and reduce the social divide that we are seeing in many parts of the world. Technology is going to be used as the main tool to make a breakthrough that will allow small nation states like Oman to punch above your weight, that you can be in the virtualized world, in the Metaverse, the United States equivalent, as long as we manage to get our strategy right and get our industry and the ecosystems all ready to embrace the new digital era. So when we talk about smart everything, right? All these are enabled by AI, and you will have new paradigm in the industry that's supported by deep technologies such as AI. And that's why we call all these new paradigm smart everything, right? You have the smart city that we have been talking about for many years right now. okay? And we have all the smart manufacturing, smart healthcare, especially smart healthcare in the last 3 years. They have grown by leaps and bounds because we need to consult the doctor. But because of COVID, we have to think of alternative ways that you can visit the doctor, and that brought about doctor online, where you can actually visit and consult your physician using an app, and that they are able to prescribe the right medication and send to you at your doorsteps. So this is just sneaks and glimpses of what the digital transformation may bring to us. But when you look at all this, these are opportunities, no doubt about that. But do we got it right to harness not only the raw power of this application, but also to make sure that we did it right, that it doesn't have any security implication or any privacy data leakage. So when we look at all this, you'll be worried about things that you saw in movies, AI and robot and me, right? So the exact title, I think it's called AI and Robot, and you see Will Smith acting alongside robots that are supposed to follow 3 tenets. And one of the tenets is that you will never harm any human. So do we have that built into all our smart applications like our autonomous driving vehicle? Are we sure that we make sure that we have what would be ingrained, deeply ingrained into the system of a car, that we couldn't allow cyber criminals to hijack autonomous vehicles on the road and have all of these vehicles hurling towards the palace, hurling towards key government officers, like what happened during 911, where you have the hijackers that did the physical task of taking over a plane. But in this case, the hijackers can be in anywhere, any part of the world, but they can control all those autonomous vehicles that are driving on the road and have them targeting a certain landmark. That is a scary thought. And what about that smart IoT devices like your heart pacer that is embedded into some of the guys' body to regulate their heartbeat? What if I have the killer switch that I can control the heart pacer to work in erratic pumping motion, or to have the heart pacer stopping altogether? So cyber has always been considered as weapon of mass disruption. But in reality today, we are looking at the possibility that cyber can be used as weapon of mass destruction, as alluded in my analogy with the autonomous vehicles and as alluded in my biohack example of the heart pacer. That is just one example. So what are we going to do, right? We probably, have to do the same thing that what we did for addressing cyber threats like what we're doing right now. But I think the approach to address these cyber threats has to be more coordinated. We need to put some thoughts about how we're going to respond to it, and not to treat security as a band-aid, right? So if you have a cut on your finger, you just put a band-aid on that. Piecemeal. The attitude of Patch Tuesday shouldn't be the way forward in the new digital era. So especially when we look at increasingly, most of our organizations are digitization, undergoing digitization. A lot of our assets are converted to virtualized assets. Most companies will have at least over 90% of their assets already digitized, excluding your bread and mortar office. And if that bread and mortar office today is already proven during the pandemic that it's really unnecessary. So a lot of companies are cutting down the seats that they have in their real world office because people can work from home, people can work from anywhere. This trend will continue, and you will see a ratio of 40, 60%, or 30, 70%, where 30 or 40% of people will continue to work remotely, because it helps them with maximizing their returns. You know, they can actually do a better job working from home, and they actually have better efficiency and effectiveness, but it also helps to alleviate some of the real-world concerns about work-life balance, especially for parents that need to take care of children, and for children that need to take care of their elderly parents. So, if we look at all this, we have to do a complete reset and redesign of how we treat cybersecurity today in order to safeguard all the high-value assets that are right now in the digital format. But we are facing tremendous pressure from everywhere. Deglobalization is very real today. The Ukraine-Russia problems, okay, is just a tip of the iceberg, what we are seeing today. There could already be a cyber World War III going on as far as we know. Over the last 3 years, we have seen ransomware increasingly becoming a key threat to large corporations. Okay, we've seen huge ransomware demand of 50, 60 million and upwards. But today, we're seeing things are changing. They're asking for 5 mil, asking for $10 million, or anything lesser than 20. Why? Because these cyber criminals, they are smart. They know that not every company can pay 50 million and above, right? They know that, you know, if I demand such a huge amount of money, I demand a huge paycheck that I can lace on the beach in Dubai. That is no longer feasible. So they have to face reality. And the reality is that people are more than willing to part with a couple of millions to resolve a problem. And that's evidence in the strategy of companies today. I know that most cybersecurity experts will actually advocate that you shouldn't pay any ransomware. So if you go to any conference, you read any white papers, they will tell you that please do not encourage these cyber criminals by paying them. But do you have a choice? If your data is locked by these cyber criminals and you need to get the data out, especially if you are facing real operational requirement or you're facing matters that talk about life and death of your company because you need to get the proposal out, you need to get paid by your customers, would you really care about paying that couple of millions to unlock the digital safe that is now commandeered by the criminals? The reality is that people are willing to pay. And I've heard many of my peers, CISOs in US and Europe, that are succumbing to pressure and paying that ransomware. So to them, the main issue is how do I do a gradual project rescue and recovery? How do I control such that when I paid the money, okay, and when the reset comes, how do I ensure that there is no residue left behind, backdoors, Trojan horses that are still in the systems that will allow the cyber criminal to hold you at ransom for the second time and for the third time and for the nth time. Okay? But I'm telling you, the possibility of this is low because most cyber criminals, they know the psychological made-up of CISOs. They know that, yes, I shouldn't kill the cow that gives me my meal. I shouldn't kill the golden goose that lays the golden egg. What do I mean by that? Because if I demand money from you for this ransomware, likelihood is that I will give you the reset right away, immediately. Okay? I will give it to you. I will not left any residue back or backdoor behind because it will be detrimental for me to move on to my next target because the cyber criminals also do need to have a reputation. They need to have a reputation that if I pay, okay, I will stay clear of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the cyber criminals are more savvy in business practices than you and me. They know that they couldn't kill the egg that lay the ghost that lay the egg. What they will do is that they will give you the key to unlock the encrypted files, and they will just move off with your life. Okay? They will take your money. Yes, it's just 5 mil, 10 mil, but that's sufficient for me to rest for half a year on the beach in Dubai. And that is not high enough a number that will get Interpol on my back. So you see where it's going? So we are fighting a losing battle today. The cyber criminals are always one step ahead of us. So we need to rethink our strategy. What shall we do? Okay? And besides the cyber criminals becoming more business savvy, we are faced with a critical problem today. IC² has published 2 workforce surveys over the last 3 years. Right? IC² has identified that there are 3 million in terms of shortage of cybersecurity professionals. So when I was still on the board in IC², I initiated one initiative. I give out 1 million free tokens so that anybody can be certified in cybersecurity. And today we only executed only less than 300,000 people benefited from this scheme, despite the fact that it was launched more than a year ago. So what's the problem? I'm giving you a free certification from IC², the only organization that is recognized by the Department of Defense in the US as the mandatory certification in order to work in the DoD. So if I give you such a valuable certification, why is nobody taking up, despite the fact that it's free? So does that mean that cybersecurity as a profession is not a desired profession? So that's food for thought. But one thing for sure is that we have a severe shortage in terms of cybersecurity manpower. And that's precisely the reason why Huawei and NTCIT, we have signed an agreement yesterday that look into capacity building, where through our Seeds of the Future initiative, Seeds of the Future program, we are supporting Oman to cultivate more IT talent, including cybersecurity talent. We have signed an agreement on capacity building, as well as an agreement with ITU, Arab Cybersecurity Center, Arab Regional Cybersecurity Center that is under NTCIT yesterday afternoon as well, that we are going to initiate a new program to look at cybersecurity readiness and maturity in Arab nation states, where we are always going to be concerned not only about capacity building, but we're going to come up with multiple sub-indices that look at various indicators that will indicate a healthy cybersecurity ecosystem, including SMEs, including Institute of Higher Learning, and we are committed to be building innovation lab here that will support not only the program that we sign with ITU ARCC, but also the program that we sign directly with MTCIT in terms of capacity building. We're going to offer scholarships in cybersecurity. So this is what I'm going to promise you, I promise Oman, that we are truly concerned about being a critical, integral part, member of the local ecosystem. So we have been here in Oman for the past 20 years.
Dr. Aloysius, 2 minutes left.
Sure, thank you. And we're going to be here in the future 20 years. So it is important that we look at the problems as net problem at the root, and that means that we have to look at how we're going to elevate, okay, the competencies in terms of cybersecurity, but we are also going to look at how we could address the shortage of cybersecurity manpower, right? So we need to initiate multiple projects, and one of the projects that we are doing together with OIC CERT, again, who is headed by Ann Butter of MTCIT, is that we are looking at developing frameworks for 5G security. We are looking at developing cloud security framework. So these are some of the things that I would say that is a complete redesign in terms of design thinking. Okay, we press the reset button because we felt that cybersecurity has to be an integral part of any company's corporate strategy. It has to be secure by design, privacy by design. We have to build it in, we have to embed this, bake it into the company's strategy right from day one, and not to be viewed as an afterthought that will result in Patch Tuesday. You are pushing a product out that is not ready yet. It's a beta project, okay? But you treat beta as a real project, an operational project, and that's the result what you get. I mean, if you use the analogy of civil engineering, will you actually allow people to stay in a building that has not been fully built to the requirements? Will you allow cars to drive over flyovers without considering that it may collapse and result in real human life, loss of real human life? So in cybersecurity, it's the same. We have to think cyber as a weapon of mass destruction and not just disruption. It can actually result to direct loss of human lives, especially in the onset of the connected world today. The example of the autonomous driving vehicles, autonomous of bio, health, medical tools that are on your body. These are things that we have to be concerned about. So the international collaboration, the collaborations with OIC CERT, the collaboration with ARCC, the collaboration with MTCIT is something that we view that these are basic fundamentals that we need to do. Because if the ecosystems is not well sustained and is not sustainable, then there's no really any business for Huawei here in Oman. So we are here for 20 years, and we want to stay here for another 20 years. So we will make sure that we are good corporate citizens that will be here contributing what we can do to ensure that, you know, the ecosystems is self-sustaining and is growing. Only when the ecosystem grows, then you have a pie that is forever growing. So we have to think long term. Okay, it's not about what is right now on my plate, but I have to look off the shoulder and what is down there, okay, in the room, rather than just what is on the table. So, for example, this is an example of what we did for 5G with OIC CERT. We built a multi-layer approach whereby we look at certifying and ensuring that at every layer, the product is secure, the application is secure, and this is basically a replay of what people will call a zero trust approach. So you build things ground up with the assumption that the environment is dirty, is insecure, so we have to establish the basic tenet, the fundamental n equals to 1, and we grow from there. N equals to n plus 1. So we make sure that the products that we sell, we have to make sure that it's secure. And we don't say that it's secure and don't take our word for that. We will get third party. And in this case, it's built under the OIC cert framework where the third party attestation and certification will come. Right? Third party will look at the product based on the technical requirements and standards, such as international best practices and standards like issued by GSMA that we will adopt in our OIC cert framework that make sure that all the products are secure by default. Okay, so this is what we'll be doing, and you are not alone in pushing out for this design, secure by design strategy. Many other regions, many other countries are already pursuing that. We saw that the European Union have issued NIS2, whereby they're looking at 3 fundamental pillars from building up capabilities to ensuring that people look at cybersecurity from the risk perspective, because risk is the common language that we have as CISOs to the other executive members of the management team, and make sure that we do one step better. Taking a leaf off the hacker's playbook is we need to be able to collaborate and share information. That is critical, and that is why the hackers is forever ahead of us by one step, is because they congregate and they share data. So this is a zero trust framework that we need to adopt in order to embrace, okay, the digital future with security by design, okay, so that we can properly deploy the zero trust security across all technology and corporate culture and cuts across all layers, right? And when we talk about information sharing, we are looking at incident reporting, we're looking at sharing of threats and vulnerabilities, okay? And that will help us adequately address emerging technology and trends like personal data protection requirement, looking at IoT today. Every person will have at least 9 devices on their body right now that are IoT enabled. And of course, the ransomware threat that I spoke about, and making sure that we have the capacity for pure compute and storage, leveraging the cloud, right? So
the time is finished.
Yes, yeah. So I'm summarizing right now, okay? Data availability, interoperability, and reliability, we have these following challenges regarding, what we need to do is find a balance as we design zero trust into our environment. Okay, so these are some numbers. I will not talk about that. I want to end with ransomware. So how do we address ransomware problems? I think we need to build a platform for information sharing. Without doubt, that is one of the key indicators to share is to reduce the space for cyber criminals to proliferate. We are flushing them out of the systems, but importantly is together the industry, companies, and government have come together in a private partnership model that we can come together and pool the resources to build a trusted and resilient ecosystem. So remember, cybersecurity is always a shared responsibility that, and CISOs today, okay, although we have new challenges that we need to address, okay, especially in the onset of embracing digital, but we need to ensure that we still need to have a strong fundamentals, despite the fact that we are going up the ladder. We are being recognized in the mainstream as leaders in the management team. We are recognized as a member of the board. We need to do reporting to the board regularly. But we shouldn't forget the fundamentals, as although we embrace the language of risk that is commonly used for communication on the board and with fellow executive members, but we mustn't forget our fundamentals. So we need to build a solid ground through embracing fundamentals and then embracing the language of risk in all our communication in ecosystems that we build. And truly, NAND, okay, we are in the new era of the CISO's way. Thank you very much. And I'm ready for any discussion offline. Thank you.